How we
We're
doing?
live. We're live. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Metcalf, I'm using your office. Thanks for everything. Oh, there we go. Thank you. All right. So anyway, how is everybody in 2022? And Brian, will there be a way that I can see comments, or should I log in here? And so anyway, how is everybody in 2022?
Oh boy.
Oh man. All right, everybody. We have a special guest joining us today, a school owner in Chicago, and it's a great story, an inspiring story, and I think a similar story to a lot of you watching this show. And he's texting me now, but I think it's a great way to start off the new year. He said he just switched it over. As soon as we pop up, we freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I think it's important for all of us in the martial arts industry, or any industry for that matter, that we have a good plan in place, but a plan without execution doesn't mean anything. So hopefully this will inspire and motivate everybody to do something different now that we're in a new year, because what you did to get where you are today won't get you where you want to be tomorrow. So we want to make some changes and maybe believe that you can do more than whatever it was you were planning on doing, right? Don't undercut yourself. But Tass, what do you think for 2022?
Breakthrough 2022. Yeah, well, this is the time of year, end of December and the first week in January, where we really start laying out, goals and expectations for clients. And it's actually interesting because when you have a strategic way of setting goals and knowing how to measure those goals, it actually becomes more of a game. It's just about hitting some of the key performance indicators and making it fun. And not that you have to take the personality out of it, but like anything, it's just a game. And I think if we can keep that in mind, it just makes it more enjoyable along the way.
Perfect. And here is Mr. David Chacon.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
No problem. Can you angle your camera down so we could see more than just your eyebrows?
Looks like Wilson.
Shoot.
Looking over the fence. There.
All right. How's that?
There we are. Hey, so Mr. Chacon.
Sir.
Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having
me. For the tens of thousands of fans and viewers of the Mets Tassoul show, we want to bring on some different guests from time to time that maybe different school owners can relate to and relate to their story. And I know your story is an amazing story, and I want to talk about your experiences and your skepticism and the fact that you had a hard time trusting others, maybe because of past history or other deals you or other people you've worked with. And why don't you tell the story and when this was, when you I think you reached out to me, right? Somehow?
Yes.
Or
so quick question.
Super show, right?
Yeah. So anytime a call or a message comes in, it's like cutting you off. And I originally had taken you off and had you on the airplane mode, and everything was good, but then we were freezing. Is there something else I should do?
You seem fine now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Just don't take any calls or texts. It'll be fine.
Gotcha. Okay. So can you repeat that question one more time, sir?
Yeah. So the question is you had some history. You were a school owner. You had some tough times. You were struggling. And was it, you went to a super show? What's your story? Where were you at as a school owner just 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago? Where were you?
Sure. So we started this school in 2009 and, had the up and down roller coaster ride, starting from zero. And we had up to close to probably 200 students, but we were on a month to month, probably charging, I think it was like $79 if you waived your 2-week trial. And so, at that, and then you've got all of the scholarships, so on and so forth. So at most, I think we had seen the business crevice up to maybe 13 or 14 grand, but that was all in, and definitely not enough to cover personal expenses, business expenses, and hiring on staff, let alone giving staff a true career future opportunity. And so the business had started to tank, and it was just more of a lack of passion for what was going on. I just couldn't see the business accomplishing anything that I had set out to do. And I had some pretty big dreams. My dad always taught me to dream big since I was young, and there was just no light at the end of the tunnel. And so my fire started to die out. And with that, the business started to tank. The business got down to just over $5,000. I think we were at $5,300 in 2016. And that's when my wife had already purchased tickets prior to the business getting that low, had purchased tickets for us to go to the Super Show, which I was pretty much against, just because I was done with the industry. I just thought that there had to be something else in this life that would be able to give me the dreams that I had set out to for myself, my family. And we went to the Super Show at an all-time low on our end. I had to take on a second job. And I've told you the story before. We didn't have enough funds really to go out and stuff at the Super Show. So we planned in advance. We took a cooler out there. We hit up the local grocery store, got some ham sandwiches and stuff, kept it in the cooler in our room. And that's pretty much what we ate, was ham sandwiches the entire time. I sat in the back of the room on the floor. I was kind of checked out. But my wife, and I've got to give her, the credit as the one that has pulled us through, because she saw in me and she saw in us more than what I could see at that time. I was a man down and out on my on everything. And so she took the notes. We came back. We applied what we learned at the Super Show. We increased our numbers a little bit, but nowhere near what we needed. And August of 2016, I finally come to understand what a true depression was, and struggled severely, not only with depression, but anxiety, and found myself in a really, really dark place. And that's when my wife urged me to call you. And she said, you got to call them. There's got to be a way that we can get them to help us. And I said, there's no way we could afford it, let alone, I don't just have the drive. I don't have the willpower. I have nothing left in me. I don't know what else to do. It was one phone call with you. I sat at a gas station, and I think it was Lyons, Illinois. And I cried my eyes out before calling you, and then cried my eyes out after talking to you. And you just said that there was somebody that their story matched my story a lot, and there was someone that could help me, and that was Mr. Tassoul. And the next month we signed up with you guys. Y'all made a way for us to get our feet off the ground. And,
all right, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, he can hear me.
You're frozen on the screen.
Oh yeah, hold on. I think I'm frozen. Hold on. Tass.
Yeah. Looks like he's going to jump out and jump back in. So
Sounds good.
we'll keep going.
Hey, you're looking pretty good, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Better on camera.
Better on camera. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, can you guys see me and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Mr. Chacon, so listen, so yes, we had a talk, and I know where you were, and there's a lot of school owners out there that may not be at the bottom that you're at, but there's school owners. There's definitely a lot of school owners out there that may be a one-man, one-woman show. They may be working a full-time job. They have dreams that they would love to make this their career, and when we spoke, I told you that we can help you, but why were you skeptical at that point? You were really, really nervous. You were afraid that I was, maybe just trying to sell you, or what were you thinking at that time?
Sure. I think it was a combination. I went into business when I was 16 years old, and probably from 18, 19 years old, I had gone into a couple different business ventures, and I had just been burned a lot. I was a young guy going as an entrepreneur, learning my way, and I had been taken advantage of, and it was just for lack of knowledge. And I can't point fingers at anyone, but honestly, you guys wore the black eye for what everybody else had done to me. And I had seen the Success magazine come to my house from 2012 all the way through 2016. And I'd read these stories, and I was like, there's no way in our industry. And that was just because of the small mindset that I had from some previous people I was involved in martial arts business with, that there's no way that schools were doing what anybody was saying in the MA Success magazine. I thought it was a complete lie, to be very honest with you. And again, that was mostly because my dreams had been shattered and hopes had been shattered in business in general, just because of bad young business decisions that I made and trusted the wrong people. So honestly, you guys were the black eye for that one.
So I'm going to turn it to you, Tass, with questions. But before I do, just a pre-frame to the people watching. So Mr. Chacon owns Dominion MMA. So you're an MMA school, right? So
Yes, sir.
a lot of times people think, well, I don't do karate. I don't do taekwondo. Well, you're MMA. And just to pre-frame so people stay engaged, that was in 2016 when you were at the bottom. Your
Yes.
school has dipped down. What were you averaging per month when you made that call?
Just over 5,000, about 5,500, right in there.
Okay, so grossing about 5,000 to 5,500 a month gross. Can you just share with everybody before we continue your story? What did you do last year? What was your gross last year in 2021?
2021, it was we broke just over $1 million.
$1 million, one location.
One location, 370 student active count. So that's another big thing too.
So $1 million, everybody, in one location in an MMA school in Chicago, coming from $5,000, outside of Chicago rather, but in Illinois, coming from $5,000 a month just in 2016 to doing over $1 million. And now, Tass, if you want to ask questions, because what I did was I hooked you up with Mr. Chacon because I know you'd be able to help him. And I know Mr. Chacon, I remember the tears. I remember your emotions. And I told Tass, we got to help this guy. I mean, I'm not going to lie to the guy. I told him we can help him. We got to help him. And now let's try to share and tell people, how did you go from grossing 5,000 over $1 million in just 5 years? You know what I mean? And so, Tass, you worked with him. What did you see and what did he do?
Yeah, so I think you came on when October, was it October or November?
November 2016 was our first month.
Okay. And the thing with Mr. Chacon, and I always say this, right, to everybody but clients, is you can have the information, but if you have the information but don't execute, you're never gonna move forward. And good news, bad news, you were in a place where it was a dark place, and the only thing you could do if you want to get out of it was execute. So I remember it was around the holidays, and so we were ramping up for your first ever holiday event, right? And so tell us, so that was in November. We started on the phone, and what happened November, December?
Well, in October, I'm talking to Mr. Metzger, and he tells me, "Hey, we'll be able to show you," because I don't know how I'm going to be able to afford a month of this, let alone pay for a whole year, and do stuff. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to show you how in 4 hours in December, you're going to be able to pay for the entire year." And I'm thinking in 4 hours, he's telling me we're going to make more than the business has done in years in just 4 hours. Again, in the back of my head, like, this has got to be a joke. There's something going on here. So we jumped on board, and that was just simply because my wife pushed me over the ledge. I don't want to sound like a pansy, but for those of you men out there that have reached the end, there's some power in having an amazing wife. And so we hit the ground running in November, and we did $17,500 or some change. We've never seen numbers like that. That was our first 30 days just by implementing the beginning phases of what you said and what Mr. Metzger said was going to cover everything in December. And so 17.5, our first month with you guys. And then come December and the holiday event, we made $19,000 and some change in those 4 hours. But that month we did $35,000. I mean, from $5,000 a month to first month 17.5, second month 35,000. I was at the point where this is just too good to be true. It's not going to last.
Right on. Yeah. And then we flow into the following year, and because sometimes what happens is people think, well, that was just a good month or a good month or two, and I know a lot of people sometimes think, well, they cashed everybody out, and that's why they had these great months, right? And so what happened then moving into 2017, into the following year?
Sure. 2017, I want to say we averaged between $35,000 and $40,000 a month, every single month in 2017.
So I think this is inspirational for school owners. But Mr. Chacon, let me ask you, as a somebody who took a leap of faith, there's school owners watching right now that are going to tune out. They don't want to hear this because, like you, they don't believe they can do this, and they'll make their own excuses. They won't know consciously that that's why they're tuning out. But they'll make excuses like, well, I'll never sell out like that. And I'll never, it's just not all about the money. And this is ridiculous. And, I'm not going to change my school and sell my soul to the devil and this, that, and the other. What would you say to school owners that have any type of excuse why they're afraid to take it to the next level?
Right. Well, the big phrase, you don't know what you don't know, kind of always put me in place. And it humbled me to say there's just things I don't know what I don't know. And those are the biggest things that ever held me back. And so what I would say to the school owner that's questioning or wherever you're at is really it comes down to your dreams. What are your dreams? What are your goals? You've got to write it down. It's very clear that men without vision perish. That's just what it is. You have to have a vision. And so if you've lost vision, then that's something that you've got to deal with personally, but you need to find someone. See, so if you don't have the vision to get up and move forward and do exactly what it's going to take to accomplish what you want to do, then you have to find somebody that you can hold on to that believes in you enough until you believe in yourself again. But don't hesitate to dream and dream big. And when you write that stuff down, it's simple, because when I first talked with Mr. Tassoul, I was in the same boat. My wife was all in. I was not. And he says, tell me exactly what you want. And that's where I started to live again, because I said, you know what? I'm just going to write down what I want. And then I'm going to tell him this is exactly what I want to do. And then he's going to tell me whether it can be done or not. And now I turned it over to him. So number one, you have to find someone that believes in you enough for you to believe in yourself. Hold on to them until you can stand up. Write down a vision, turn it over to them, and let them guide you. And that's exactly what we did. And we executed ahead of schedule to the vision and dream that he asked me to write down on a piece of paper.
So did your quality of instruction or your quality of students change in any way for the worse?
No, not at all. It increased. I was never, ever able to offer any of my shining stars, my right-hand men and women that would volunteer. And they would love to do this as a career and love to make a lifestyle doing this because of the lives that they were impacting. I could never offer them anything beyond, if possible, maybe a couple of paid hours here and there, but most of it was always volunteer. So to be able to know that I could not only provide a full-time future for myself in this industry, but provide that for other people that had the same vision, the same dreams, that wanted to jump on board the Dominion train and pursue the Dominion vision, that was amazing, because it wasn't about me, and it became about building a future for them.
And where were you and your wife when you guys first started working with me? What did you guys have for staff? And then where did you, were you guys in the school? Were you not in the school? And then where has that progressed to?
Sure. We had some volunteers, and at the time we would pay them very, very minimally whenever we could. And I had them pretty much running the classes. By that time, remember, I was checked out. I had to get a second job. Actually, a friend of mine owned a roofing company, and he let me jump in there so that I could start making money to not only cover the school, but to cover my own expenses. And so we had volunteers that were helping just keep the business and the doors open. And that was where we started.
And then how soon after that? So this is end of 2016 going to 17. When did you start finding staff, and what did that look like for you as far as you personally? Because I remember you were checked out and you're like, and even though business was going good, you weren't in the school as much, because you had these volunteers, but then we started getting your staff together, and what did that look like?
So by March, we hired on our first full-timer with full-time pay. And that would be the person that would end up fulfilling more of like a head coach position. And then we moved on to being able to hire full-time program director to do the program directing at the school. And that would allow them to fill those shoes while my wife and I began to be able to work on the business to be able to elevate what they were doing.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chacon, what is the secret to success for the school owners watching? What can we tell them to take their business to another level in 2022?
The secret to success. So when we named Dominion in 2012, we named it Dominion MMA Institute of Mentorship. I've always had a mentor since I was 12 years old and was exposed to business for the first time and understood the importance of a mentor slash consultant. And that's what we've thrived on. My marriage has always had a consultant. I've personally, as a man, have had a consultant. Our business has had a consultant now with you guys. Before you guys, I had business consultants. Unfortunately, the vision wasn't big enough, so we weren't able to get things handled. But the importance is to have one, but look at their track record. And it's super important to the key to success is find someone that's accomplished what you want to do and invest heavily and listen to everything that they got to say. Now, the trust portion is the next thing that you got to get over. And if anyone can tell you what that's like, it's me, because I had to do it with you guys. So the secret of success is get a consultant, or what do you say, Mr. Tass? You say, have a dream, find a success coach, ask a success coach to help you make a game plan. And then once you make a game plan, take massive action. Right. I mean, that's exactly what it is. That's the secret to success. It's just, I've talked to so many business owners since I've met you guys, school owners. So hard even for them being a part of the organization to truly go all in for what they want. And I've heard it for the last 5 years. That's a difficult one. It is.
Yeah, Mr. Chacon, the interesting thing though is the majority, and I hate to say this, and probably maybe not the majority watching this show, but the majority of our industry has the mindset that you had. And what could we have said to you if you didn't have your wife in your corner pushing you? Could your mindset have changed? Would you have eventually, found your road to success if your wife wasn't there telling you, no, we need to do this?
I'd have to bet on myself, but I couldn't answer that. Personally, because I don't know. I never, as a man, thought I would find myself in the place that I was in, especially being a go-getter entrepreneur since young with big dreams. So I can't answer that honestly, other than say I would bet on myself, and I would bet that I'd get my butt back up, or that somebody would be there to lift me up. But at that time, it was my wife.
But this is the mentality, though. Like Tass, we want to reach more people because we know, like you, Mr. Chacon, how long were we on the phone? Do you remember the first time you called me?
Probably 45 minutes.
And 43 of the 45 was me trying to tell you to trust me, or I'm telling you we could. You just didn't have trust. Even when you came on at first, you were still really guarded, if you remember. Very, very guarded.
Yeah.
But our goal is to help school owners, because there wasn't a doubt that we couldn't help you or any other school owners. And the mentality that you had is a mentality that a lot of people have. And part of the reason why we're going to bring guests on from time to time, and I don't want this to turn into an infomercial for Maya, let's say. But I just want people to hear other people's stories, because it's going to resonate with someone. Somebody's going to be sitting there saying, man, that's me. This sounds just like me. And maybe I'll reach out to these guys. And are we selling you? Yeah, I'm going to just say I think we are selling people, but not to get the gain, but to give the gain. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because we know what we could do for people, but that's our goal for 2022, is to make a bigger impact in the industry and somehow get through to people that had your mentality back then, when you were just either done, or some people are just, I'm good. Where I'm at, I'm good. And by the way, let's talk about our conversation now. You're at a point where you're really good. And now it's scary to take another step, right? Because you're afraid you may lose what you have. Like you're really good right now.
Yes.
So there's levels to this, right? So it's that fear. And it's just interesting that you always give credit to your wife, that she's the one who pushed you over. But I just wonder, you can relate to that mentality.
100%. You know, there was something you said earlier for the people that are like, well, I don't want to sell out. It's not about the money and this, that. Really, like, if I could tell every person on here, like, you were born on purpose. You were born with a purpose, and you're born gifted. You're born talented. And I believe you were born to do things in a way that nobody else can do. So dream, say, like, whatever your vision is, go after it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with fulfilling every goal and dream in your life. And the machine that guides you there is the martial arts industry. It's a combination of purpose, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if you look at the amount of people's lives that get impacted with that, like now the amazing staff that we have, because now that the staff is cruising and they have phenomenal lifestyles, and we're very involved with what inspires them and what their drive is. Without their drive and motivation and having been sold out in their purpose and their vision and setting their goals, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. It's because they're the machine on the inside that's also driving for their vision. And the platform is offering that for them as well. The team is absolutely amazing.
So,
Well, I know, you know, how your team does, and I'll just go on a limb here and say this, but your team, they individually make more money than the majority of the martial arts school owners out there. I mean, because you've been able to provide the career. So, you know, and Metz always says this too. He always talks about, you know, we talk about money a lot, and we're talking about, okay, we were at $5,300 a month, and now we're doing $1 million a year in revenue, and all of that is great, right? But all that really provides is options, and everyone loves options. So, what was quality of life for you, 2016? And yes, there's money that's going to give you some of these options, but where was it then? And like, where is it now? I mean, Metz is gone. Give us a snapshot of options that you have today that you didn't have 5 years ago.
Sure. Well, I mean, we lived less than month to month, and it's really hard for you to get past goal when you can't even get up. And so, and with that, you know, we had a lot of problems. But there's also that saying too that, you know, if you can strike a check for a problem, it no longer becomes a problem anymore. And there's always situations that come up, and it's not just in my life. But what's really cool is that when there's situations that come up with our team's life, if they need something personally, we can strike a check and make sure that they're okay. And I really like the option and the ability to be able to do that because they're taken care of. And not only that, but we're taken care of. And so we're providing a product now for our students and the experience that they've never seen in the history of Dominion. We're offering more now than we ever have. And so it's just better all around.
And go back. I mean, I think this is important. I mean, it's not about the size of the house we live in or anything, but your house you were living in 5 years ago, right? In 2016. How big was that house, and how many people were in that house? Because I know the answer to this.
Sure. It was 900 square feet. It was the smallest ranch that you could get in the suburb that we live in. But we were able to do it. It was my wife's dream to raise our children in the district that we were able to get that house. And it cost us $5,000 down and a whole bunch of seller's credit or calc credits and stuff. But we didn't even have the money to put that down. I had to borrow that $5,000. And we had a mortgage of just under $1,700, which we couldn't afford. But we took a leap of faith and we jumped in, and it was swim. We had to burn our boats and we had to hit the ground running. And so that's where we got started, and that's where we were at when we met you guys. And it was my wife, myself, my daughter, my son, and one bathroom. So
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And now you have, you know, dream home, right? I mean, and not that the stuff is necessarily important, but I want people to understand that when you become successful, right, whatever that is in your own right, you do have more options, and those options are you know, it sets you free, right?
There is nothing wrong with my wife taking a jog or walking and going to the other side of the neighborhood and saying, my dream and goal is to be able to be here one day. There's nothing wrong with dreaming. There's nothing wrong with being motivated and inspired. And that's what my wife did. She would take the jogs. For me, I was cool. I'm like, whatever, we got a roof over our head, no big deal. But for her, there was just something for her to give more space to the kids, to have more space for us, for entertainment. We love entertaining. Just our lifestyle was part of a lifestyle. And so it was then in 2019 that we were able to get the home in the neighborhood that really, really fulfilled my wife's dream, my wife's goal, in the area that since a little girl, she dreamed that she could raise her children in. That's priceless, man. It's priceless.
Yeah, that's incredible.
You know, so let's give some action steps to any school owners here as far as how to set their 2022 up. And I'll just start. You said it, Mr. Chacon. You said you got a dream, right? You got to set a goal. We need a target. We don't know if we're doing well unless we set a target. And a lot of us are afraid to set targets because if you set a target, there's a chance you'll miss the target. And a lot of people are afraid of failing. They're afraid of that. So they don't set a target and they just work and they're like, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good, but pretty good compared to what? So number one, set a goal for 2022. What is that goal for you personally and for your business and for your team or your volunteers or your students, whatever it is, set goals for those people. Then break it down quarterly, which is so important. You got to break it down quarterly because at the end of the first quarter, did you take steps towards that ultimate goal? Are we moving in the right direction? Do we need to adapt? Do we need to change things? But you need to set it quarterly and then break that quarterly down monthly so we see if our monthly goal is on track to hit that quarterly goal. And it is okay to reset goals sometimes. If you crush the first quarter, I don't want anyone to ever say, oh, we're killing it, so we'll hit our goal for the end of the year easy and go on to autopilot, because that's a cop-out. Readjust the goal and make it a little higher. But at the same token, if you're behind, you got to see, can we strategize on how we're going to make up ground to still hit that target? And if you can't sit there and figure that out, you may have to adjust your goal, because ultimately we don't want to demotivate ourselves, right? But you need to make sure you challenge yourself. And in that yearly goal, that year, like Mr. Chacon, what you've accomplished in 5 years, well, where do you see yourself in 3 years and in 5 years? And at the end of 2022, did you take a big step forward towards whatever that 3 or 5 year goal is? And we got to make sure we're moving forward, not backwards, period. Okay. So that's my advice to start 2022. Tass?
Yeah, and two things. Number one, and Metz said it, you have your target, and you heard Mr. Chacon. I mean, he's great motivational speaker as well, right? Because of life experience. But you have to have your why. What is your why? Why do you want to do X amount of dollars or X amount of revenue? Because that, and I know everybody hears this, and it's probably one of the hardest things for you to really grasp, because sometimes we don't know, well, what should my goal be, or where should I be, or what is it? And this is where he said earlier, you got a dream, and then you got to get that, whether that's a vision board or a goal board or whatever that is, but give yourself a reason to go after that number, because that number is going to give you more options. Number one. So it's easy to give up on numbers. It's hard to give up on your dreams and your visions, right? So the numbers are just going to get us to that dream and to that vision. Number one. Number two, I talk a lot about, I'm not going to get into a lot of stats, but I talk a lot about goal setting as far as a static goal versus a dynamic goal. And a static goal is, as an example, I remember, and my story is very similar to Mr. Chacon's, right? I remember being at the Super Show, and I remember walking up to somebody else, and we were both very emotional about where our businesses were, and they had done the elite program and they were successful, and I was right where they were. And so their story inspired me to get started. Chacon, it only took Metzger 43 minutes to convince you, but it took him 2.5 hours to convince me. But those things are so important. But I remember setting my goal, and my goal was, man, if I could just do $360,000 for the year, if I could just do $30,000 a month, because I didn't know really how to set goals, right? And not that you can't do that, but if you got this big goal, it's something that you need to work up to. And like Metzger was saying, you know, if you've been doing 10,000 a month in your school or 8,000, you want to start doing 20,000. Well, you may not hit that this month. So what I would encourage you to do is find out what the number is that you want to hit for the end of the year with the why, and then determine what percent increases that over last year, and then just increase each of your months, January, February, March, based off of those numbers, because our business is very fluid and it will help you. It's easier to do a 10% or 20% bump based off of last year's numbers, as opposed to having this big static number jump that we need to get to. And then month one out of the gates, maybe we don't hit it and we're just feeling deflated. So, you know, be mindful about how you set your goals. If your goal is to do 10% better than last year, you just multiply last year's revenue for those months times 1.10. That becomes your new financial goal, and it will flow with you throughout the course of the year. And again, you know, look back monthly, quarterly, and just make sure that we're hitting those targets, and make it fun. Make it a game. You got to make it a game, knowing that that's ultimately where you're trying to get to, and that game is going to get you to the vision and to the dreams that you want to go after.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
You know, the one thing that we had talked about earlier, like, it's one thing to get the ball rolling. You believe, you've set your vision, you set your goal, and you hit the ground running. If there's one thing I could have done different, and I believe that we could have accomplished where we're at right now even faster, was I would have doubled down on my ability to build a team. I really didn't get it, because I have come from motivational speaking and inspiring and leading groups and doing all this stuff before I was in the martial arts industry. I thought that I knew how to freaking handle people, no problem, how to encourage people and motivate. But the thing is that sometimes people will just say yes because they're so motivated in the moment, but they've never dug down deep themselves. And I didn't start. I mean, the questions for Mr. Metzger and for you, I call you guys more about how to better manage and build and encourage the team now than ever before, because they're people just like they should be dreaming, they should be goal setting, they should do the same exact thing. They should set a goal. We should help them to make a game plan on how they can accomplish their goals. I did it yesterday. I had our head coach in the office. He told me what his dream and his goal were now moving into this year and next year. We made a plan, and now it's up to me to help him accomplish that plan. So now I spend my time making sure that the team is living, that they're dreaming, that they're breathing, that they're excited, that everything we do comes from a place in the positive. We're not coming from a place of negative. We're not trying to strive for victory. We're fighting from victory. We're already victorious. The mindset, and you guys have helped me so much now that we've had to focus on working on the business. Without this team and the power team and their dream, their drive, their vision, we would never be where we're at right now. We have an amazing team, but it took a lot of time and effort. And I think a lot of people don't spend much time working on their managerial, those skills. That skill set is priceless, and you guys have deposited that more and more over these last 3 years, as far as me understanding, putting my pride aside. And ever since I doubled down on that, we have the strongest team ever, and they have great vision, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, that's important, and you have to have your vision first, and then the responsibility is to help them with their vision. And I forget if it was Zig or who said it, Zig Ziglar, but, you know, help more people get what they want, and you'll ultimately get what you want, right? And that's really that's the recipe, man. And it's a lot easier said than done. And, you know, some people come on here and will say, well, he's lucky, or, you know, Metzger introduced you as being from Chicago. Well, he's from Chicago, so they must charge a lot more, or he must have a big after school or summer camp or whatever, you know, program. And that's not the case. Mr. Chacon does not do after school. He doesn't do summer camp. Not that you can't do those things, but just want to be clear about that. And he's in a small town in Oswego, Illinois, and has done an absolute great job. Metz, I'm not sure if you're still with us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
yep.
I know my picture's frozen, but as long as you can hear me.
Yeah, right on. So yeah, listen, this is great, and I think, you know, more stories are people resonate. We all resonate with stories, and that Mr. Chacon's story may be your story. It may not be your story, but I promise you that as we go through and we do more of these, you're going to find somebody who has a very similar story. And then what happens is that creates that belief in us that we can actually get it done, because somebody else has gone before us and done that. And the story really, really, really resonates with that person. So that's why I love being able to share the success. I love seeing the success. As a martial arts instructor, when I was younger, my biggest accomplishments were, going to the Pan Am games and taking a silver medal and winning the trophies and all that. And then I look fast forward, that pales in comparison to seeing a student perform at a high level. Well, that pales in comparison to helping, like, my business, cool, but when we can help other people succeed, not because we know more, it's just because we're just in the way of the business systems, and be able to share that. That's why we do what we do. It's definitely not for the money. It's about being passionate about helping people and hearing the stories like your story, Mr. Chacon. I mean, it's inspiring, it's life-changing. And I always say it, like, it's not us, man. You guys, you do the work. We just give you the information, but you got to do the work,
And by the way, there is no shortage of information out there. And that's why this year in 2022, we want to bring on different school owners that have different challenges and how they overcame them. Because at this point, it's about inspiring someone to take action. It's about inspiring someone to finally say, you know what? Can they help me, or who can help me? I want to take it to the next level, and that's what these stories are about. So we really appreciate you, sir, coming on, because it's unbelievable what you've accomplished. Not only were you 5 years ago at the lowest of lows, but do you understand that you are in the top less than 0.5% of the martial arts industry with what you're doing as a business? Now, Dominion MMA, your coaches, you got fighters. I mean, like you said, your quality is better than it's ever been. But to do over $1 million in a year in revenue in one location, in just 5 years, you were able to do that. And people watching this may think you're an anomaly, but Mr. Chacon, you've been in the program for 5 years now. You're another story, right? It's not an anomaly in our little world. But everyone has a different story behind their success, and yours is very inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for the platform, to share. And thank you for everything that you guys have done. And we haven't even scraped the surface of the relationship and what we're going to do. I felt like these 5 years have gone by. It seems like a year or two. So I'm excited for the future. And I just thank you guys. And I know on behalf of my team, they're so grateful for what you guys have done for us. Tass, like you said earlier, it's really awesome to know that my team individually, that they're able to provide a lifestyle for themselves that a lot of owners of schools can't do, and now they have more financial goals, and it's up to me to be able to execute that and help paint the vision for that. So this is just great. It's about really helping people, not only the students, but your staff find their true value, their true worth, their talents, their gifts, put it all together, be patient, not expect overnight success, and accomplish things. It's just great. It's a great place to be. I appreciate the opportunity and lifestyle, and I thank you guys for believing in me and giving me the chance.
I don't know any other way, right, other than to throw this out there. And I know this has a negative connotation to it, but if anybody just wants to invest a few $100 to come to Orlando, February 25th and 6th, to our All Systems Go Elite event, you'll meet Mr. Chacon. You can pick his brain. You can have dinner with him, because we have dinner with everybody on Friday night. Go and click the link and read about it if you're interested. I mean, there's the hard sell right there, guys. For if this inspired anybody to say, you know what? All right, what is it? I'm going to go to the one seminar and I'm going to check it out and see if I think this can help me and my goals. But don't be, I don't know what else to say, because some people say, oh, here it is. He's trying to sell us. If you're interested, come to Orlando. It's $299. It covers dinner. It's Friday, Saturday. We're at all the information's in the link. And go home and have a ton of information to go execute. Or maybe you'll want to jump on board and do something with us. But that's the hard pitch right there.
Yeah, you guys.
By the way, Chacon will have ham sandwiches.
Ham sandwiches, I'll buy for everybody.
There you go.
That's awesome. You know, a lot of times as instructors, we say our students are they're one step closer to getting their black belt or one step closer to quitting. And for some of us, I know not everybody struggles, but you also, like Chacon said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. Are you really doing that good, or could you be doing better? So for those of you that might be struggling, for those of you that just don't know what you don't know, could you be doing better? Well, this is that one step where you could take that step towards success, or you're just going to keep doing things the same way. And you know, we see it over and over and over again, which is why we're so passionate about it. It's not because our system and our way, and it's none of that. It's just we know what we do works because it's been tried and true and tested over the last 20 years and continues to be improved upon, you know, every single day. So yeah, we'd love to see anybody there that is up for the challenge and wants to take your school to the next level and just experience and see what there is to offer.
That's it, guys. Sir, we appreciate it. I loved your story. I love your success. And remember, you're the one who has to throw it down on Sunday, the 27th.
Oh man, I'm getting my hips ready. Don't worry. Don't worry.
All right.
Like
All right,
Shakira,
guys.
my hips won't lie. I promise.
Well, you and Hackelman, it's gonna be the contest right there.
It's going down. It's going down.
All right, guys. Thank you. And good luck, everybody. Set those goals. Let's start 2022. We'll be back next week, and we'll give some, you know, free info and free. We'll try to give some giveaways and stuff. Not giveaways like trips, but giveaways like stuff that can help your school grow. I want to make sure that we do our part to help any schools out there that may never come to an event or a seminar, but we'll be here next week. And Mr. Chacon, thanks again. If you need anything, you know where to find us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. We'll see you.
Thanks,
you,
buddy.
guys.
Appreciate you, man. Have a great one.
Tass,
Bye-bye, everybody.
we'll touch base. Hey, Tass.